Did you know that there are over 10,000 varieties of tomatoes in the world? And that is a lot of tomatoes. But when you walk into your local grocery store or supermarket, you might just see only a handful of tomatoes. So, how do you know which ones to grow in your garden? And what's the best way to use them in your kitchen? So, as I'm gearing up for the upcoming gardening season and starting even more tomatoes because we fell short of our stored and jarred tomatoes, I want to break all of this down for you. So, we're going to talk briefly about different types of tomatoes, how they grow, why you should grow your own, and the best ways to use them. So if you're just starting your gardening journey, you're in the right place. So let's go ahead and let's get started. So first up, let's talk about how tomatoes grow. Oftentimes you'll hear two terms, or you will see two terms if you're buying transplants or if you're starting them from seeds. And those main terms are determinate and indeterminate. It sounds a little bit confusing, but it's really simple. So first, let's talk about determinate tomatoes, or some people refer to them as bush tomatoes. Now, determinate tomatoes normally grow to a set size, probably about 3 to 5 feet in height. They produce all of their fruit at once, and they're great for canning. And some of the more common varieties you may see are Roma tomatoes and Bush Early Girl tomatoes. I wanted to point this out because oftentimes we'll get these varieties and they'll produce all of the fruit, and people are expecting them to produce like all season long, but that is not the case. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to like stop producing altogether. You may still get one or two here or there, but for the most part, they set all of their fruit and then that is it. Now, you can continue to plant more of the determinate types if you would like to continue to have those type of tomatoes all season long. I want to interrupt this video for just a second because I want you to imagine with me fresh homegrown tomatoes, sweet snacking peppers, fragrant oregano, and bright marigolds, all on your patio or in your garden. Our Pizza on the Patio Seed Starting Kit makes it easy to grow your own ingredients even if you've never gardened before. These hand-picked seeds thrive in containers, or you can put them in your garden so you can enjoy fresh flavor no matter your space. So skip the grocery store and grow what you can't find locally. Start your garden today. Click the link in the description or click the tag products to grab your seed starting kits before they're all gone. Now back to our video. Next up are your indeterminate tomatoes, and sometimes you might hear them referred to as vining tomatoes, but these tomatoes not only grow tall, but they're going to keep growing into your first fall frost, which is why I say always know your first fall frost, your last spring frost, and your growing zone. Now, some examples of the different indeterminate tomatoes is one of my favorites, which is the Sun Gold. The Cherokee Purple is another great one, and the beefsteak. So here are a couple pointers to remember. If you want a steady supply of tomatoes all summer long, then you need to choose an indeterminate variety of tomatoes. But if you just want a lot all at once for making sauces or whatever dishes that you're thinking about, then you need determinate tomatoes. Okay, so now let's talk about which tomato is best for what. So first up, let's talk about our slicing tomatoes. These are going to be tomatoes like beefsteak, big boy, brandywine. These tomatoes are so good on sandwiches because you can slice them really thick and they are super good. Next are the cherry or grape tomatoes, and some popular varieties include Sun Gold, which I grew this last season and has quickly become one of my favorites. They're also Sweet 100, and they're like black cherry tomatoes. Now, these type of tomatoes are great for snacking, they're great for putting on your salads, and they're great for roasting. So the next type of tomatoes are your paste or your sauce tomatoes, and some very popular types are Roma tomatoes, San Marzano tomatoes, and Amish paste. Now, these type of tomatoes are great for sauces, soups, and salsa. So they're really meaty, they contain fewer seeds, and that is what makes a thicker sauce. And let me tell you, this is what I ran out of. And as someone who has stayed in Italy for 3 years, I made sure that I went to a lot of the cooking classes that they offered. And what I love about making sauce is the ingredients are simple, but the flavors are so bold. So now let's talk about heirloom tomatoes versus hybrid tomatoes. Now, your heirloom tomatoes are grown for generations. They have amazing flavor, but they're more delicate, which is why you don't see a lot of your heirloom tomatoes in the grocery stores. Now, the hybrid tomatoes, they're crossbred for disease resistance, for better shelf life, and they have many different varieties. Now, some examples of your heirloom tomatoes are Cherokee Purple, which I can definitely confirm that they are very, very flavorful. And the hybrids are things like your Better Boys. Okay, so now let's talk about something really serious. And I'm telling y'all, if you have never grown a tomato, just try it. I really feel like once you've tried your first homegrown tomato, it's no comparison. Like, you don't even want to go back to the grocery store. But if you need a little bit more convincing, I want to share with you why it is so much better to grow your homegrown tomatoes. Like I just said, they are way more flavorful. You can pick them when they are ripe, not when they're green and travel 3,000 miles, but you pick them at the right time. There's so many more varieties than what you find at your local grocery store. So you can grow the exact varieties that you love. It's so much healthier. You guys always know I say, when you grow, you know. You know how you've grown the plant. You know what you've done to it. So you don't have to worry about if something was sprayed, if something was put on there. You're growing it, so you know. And I want y'all to think about this, especially with the rising prices of the grocery store. Think about one pack of seeds or even starts versus what you may pay at the grocery store, because flash alert, news alert, the tomatoes, along with a lot of other things, have increased in prices over the last few years. So now that we've talked about growing our own homegrown tomatoes and the different types, let's talk about ways that we can use them. Now, this first one has easily become my favorite while staying in Italy, and it is the caprese salad. The next thing you can do if you want to cook tomatoes, you can easily make a tomato soup, and it goes great with a grilled cheese sandwich. And lastly, if you want to preserve your tomatoes, this is where the tomato sauce comes in at. So it's all types of ways that you can use your tomatoes. And what I will tell you is, if you preserve them, once you get them out or once you open them, they taste just like you harvested them fresh from the garden. So now you know whether you want big juicy tomatoes, sweet cherry tomatoes, or the best type of tomatoes for sauce. There is a perfect tomato for you to grow in your garden. Now, if this video has been helpful for you, make sure that you like this video. Make sure, if you're not a subscriber, that you also subscribe to this video, especially if you want more gardening tips like this, and be sure to check out our other videos as well. So let's do a quick recap on what we discussed today about growing tomatoes in your garden. So we talked about determinate tomatoes versus indeterminate tomatoes. And so now that you know the difference, you will know which one you need to grow that will fit your garden space. The next thing we talked about were the different types of tomatoes, whether you want to grow a slicing tomato, a cherry tomato, a paste tomato, and then we also talked about the difference between heirloom tomatoes versus hybrid. And if you haven't heard anything else, please trust me when I say homegrown tomatoes are always going to taste better than store-bought. They're always going to be the best. So even if you're on the fence about thinking about growing tomatoes, go ahead, grow your tomato plant this season. And then we also talked about the different ways that you can use your homegrown tomatoes. So as always, thank you all so much for watching this video. Make sure you share this video with your family and your friends. And if you're not a subscriber, go ahead, tap the subscribe button. Make sure you tap the bell so that you can receive notification each and every time we upload a new video. Again, thank you all so much for watching. And until the next video, bye-bye.